for many of the curves that we just saw were familiar and should be easy for you to make adjustments. We're going to go look at another tool here that might be a little more challenging for some. First, let's look at this shot here. If we were to evaluate it using our vector scope, we can see we've got some issues here. One of the things I didn't mention before are these boxes, and these are what we call safe limits. We don't want color exceeding the upper box, okay? So we don't want colors to push beyond that upper limit. And if you look, we're in danger of doing that in the blue, and we can look at the shot and see, wow, there's a lot of blue in there. Matter of fact, there's all kinds of blue going on down here between blue and cyan. So we're going to have to make some adjustments here. If we were to go ahead and look quickly at the waveform monitor, we can also see we've got some other issues. We've got a few hot spots here, super white, and we've got an awful lot of low. Everything's pretty much concentrated between 0 and 30 IRE, and that's problematic. So what we're going to do is use our Luma curve here, and we're going to make a quick correction. Actually, I've already done it before you got here, and we'll open that up. And if you compare on the waveform monitor, you can see not only did we fix the super white, but we were able to correct some of the issues that we were having down here. Instead of it all being crushed between 0 and 25, we've got it up now around 60, 50 and 60. It's a dark room. It's going to be dark. There's only so much that we can do here, but I think we have a better starting space. Now, here's the part that kind of confuses people sometimes, in that all I did was correct brightness. I haven't done anything with color. But some would say, wow, it looks far less blue. I guess we've also fixed that issue. If we go back to our vector scope, we can see there is absolutely no change. If I toggle it off, toggle it back on, there is no change to the amount of color in this shot. It's merely the luma, or the brightness and contrast, that we addressed. Okay, we're going to get another effect here. We're going to go ahead and get the fast color corrector. So I'll go ahead and bring that in, double clicking to put it onto my selected clip, which I already had selected. And now we're into what some might consider a little bit more complex tool to use, or effect in this case. What we have here is what's called a color wheel. And if you look at the vector scope, it looks remarkably similar here. We've got all the same colors. We've got our red and magenta and blue and cyan and green and yellow. So all of the colors are represented. The way this essentially works is this outer ring is what you might call the hue, and we can adjust. By rolling this, we can change the overall direction and hue of the image. Notice how all of this was leaning towards blue before. Now it's all leaning towards green, and of course that's reflected in our image as well. So the more as we flip it through, we can see we've got some drastic changes going on here. Probably not exactly what we want. In the old days, this was the only adjustment we had. So if we wanted to fix that other shot, we'd have to try to do something like that, and that was not going to fix anything. Okay, so let me go ahead and reset this. This little button here is reset. It works for all of our effects. And let's look at another part of this, and that's the center of the wheel is actually a part of the tool. So we said the outer part of the wheel is our hue, or our tint. The inner part of the wheel is our control of color. And the way this works is we pull towards or away from a particular color. So if I'm looking over here at my vector scope, I'm seeing, wow, I got an awful lot in this quadrant right here between blue and cyan. So I can pull in this direction, which makes things worse, or I can pull in the other direction, the opposite direction, which can really impact how our picture looks. So now if we're looking, wow, that's a huge change. So if we go back and look, all of our color was leaning towards blue, and now just by pushing the color the other way, now we're starting to see a little balanced color. We've actually gotten rid of the blue. And if we go back to our RGB parade that we mentioned before, this is looking pretty close to even here. Now, if I were to turn off my fast color corrector, look what we had going on before. No red, enough green, but look at all this blue. And then by making that adjustment, pulling away, we were able to fix that. And we were getting a more natural looking color. So a nice, quick fix in a way. If I go ahead and turn on my split screen, we can see the difference here. The ceiling tiles here are blue, and here they're more natural tan, kind of similar to the wall coverings. So we can see the difference that we've made in just that little adjustment. Now, the amount that I pull away has an impact on here. So I can try to balance these. So if I'm looking at my RGB, I can say, okay, that actually is looking a little better than what we had before, just by pulling more in that direction. Notice the direction that I go changes my result and the distance that I go. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm using this color wheel to kind of get a balance. How can I get a nice balance between all our colors and all of our ranges? It's not a exact science. It's more of a feel. Now, there are some other things that we can do to help us, and that's by using white balance. Now, we know that we can white balance our cameras. Let's go ahead and turn off the split view here before we go in and shoot. And that we go and find something white, and we tell the camera, hey, this is white. We can do that now if we had a problem. And I have this tool right here called my white balance. And what this will do is it will notice it zeroed out my adjustment here. And it's going to respond to colors. Notice as I move it around the wheel that it catches up. It's going, can you tell, the opposite way of whatever color I pick on. Okay, so it's a useful tool. So if I go into my image here and I say, this should be white. This piece of paper on this table probably is white. Now, one of the tricks you can do is hold down the control key. If you hold the control key down, it's very subtle, but you'll notice that the color picker, it's called, and let's see if we can't, the color picker gets just a little bit fatter, and what it's going to do is it's going to sample, instead of a single pixel, instead it's going to sample a 5 by 5 square of pixels and kind of average those together, and it gives us a little more accurate reading. And again, you do that by holding down the control key. Now, if we look in the white balance window, we can already see that it changed from white and it went to blue. And we're going to say, hey, this is where this was supposed to be white and it's not. When I click it, it's going to make the adjustment. And you'll notice it did very similar to what we did. It pulled in the same direction that we thought to pull. Again, if we go back to our vector scope, well, let's go to our all three scopes here. We knew that we were wrong in this general direction, and we had to pull in the opposite direction. The color wheel actually did that for us by selecting our white balance. So either way, you can make these adjustments. Now, you can override. The white balance does a generally good job, but if we say, well, I'd really like this a little bit warmer, I can pull just a little bit more towards the red and get a little bit warmer look if that's what I'm going for. But you can see, regardless, this is a much more natural shot than what it was before. And again, if we just to go back and toggle this off, this is where we were before. This is where we started. Quite a stark difference that we can see. So this is color correction using the fast color corrector, a very useful tool, a very capable tool.